Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Cancer Support Community Center Ohio's Natural Living Workshop with community herbalist Lily Cunning. We are always so thrilled that Lily shares her time and her expertise with us for these workshops. I'm not going to take any of her valuable time because she has an excellent session today on spring cleaning. So good morning, Lily, and welcome.
Good morning. Thanks so much. It's always a pleasure to be here and to get to chat with folks. Yeah, so today we're going to be talking about spring cleaning and what clean actually means. Because I think a lot of people um, aren't aware of some of the toxicity of cleaning products that they bring into their homes, as well as some other things that we'll talk about. Let me get my screen share started. There we go. Is everybody seeing it?
Yes.
Okay, great. Let me just move the menu around so it's not. There we go. All right. So, um, in the United States, I'll start there. In the United States, we have a couple different entities that regulate toxins, or at least disclose toxins. And unfortunately, when it comes to cleaning supplies, they're not considered food, they're not considered medicine, so they're not regulated by the FDA. And the only regulation that we have around house cleaners is the EPA. And if you know anything about EPA regulations and like banned chemicals, there's only a handful of chemicals that are outright banned that cannot be used. But there are known carcinogens and endocrine disruptors and forever chemicals that are in products today on the shelves available for purchase. And we don't know how long they will be there. And so it puts us as citizens in a position where we have to educate ourselves. We have to know what is safe and what isn't safe in order to do right by our own health. So, when you've got these chemicals in your products, you're not really getting anything clean. In fact, what you're doing is you're toxifying your environment. Um, so, we're going to talk about that. So, the first thing I wanted to do was to talk by detoxifying our mind. When I talk about detoxing our houses, I am not using that thinly veiled language around weight loss. That is not what we're talking about. And I also want to point out, as you know, a class that is aimed at cancer survivors and their caregivers, that there is no one standard of health that is achievable for every single body. These ideas that there's an ideal weight, that there is an ideal fitness level, that there's an ideal BMI is a falsehood that is perpetuated often by companies that stand to profit from it. And these shortcuts really do a lot more psychological harm than they do physical wellness. So I just wanted to post this quote from Sonia Renee Taylor. And if you haven't heard of her, her book, The Body is Not an Apology, is highly recommended by me. I love that book so much. It revolutionized the way that a lot of people think of their bodies and their relationship to their body, particularly in times of illness and disability. All right, so under normal circumstances, your liver and your lymphatic tissue cleanse your body really well. But Americans don't live under normal circumstances. Our food, our water, our air, our soil, and a lot of things around us in our homes often contain toxic chemicals. And when that happens, our bodies get overwhelmed. And we've seen an uptick. Uptick is the wrong word because it seems like it's just a little bit. We've seen a skyrocketing of all kinds of illnesses, cancers, autoimmune diseases, and neurological disorders in particular, which correspond directly to the better living through chemistry 1950s boon of all of these chemicals being introduced into our lives. Um, a lot of these ingredients or products are banned in other countries um, because they take public health seriously. Unfortunately, in this country, there's a lot of reasons why those things aren't banned, profit margin being the main one. um, And other countries also do independent certifications and efficacy testing, either as a government agency or with independent agencies that stand alone. And that is not what happens in the United States. In the United States, companies get to test for toxicity themselves and they submit the results. And the FDA and the EPA do not have enough staff or the inclination to look at the results and see if they are repeatable. But I want to talk a little bit about bioaccumulation because the way that the EPA and the FDA sort of look at possible toxicity is that they say, oh, there's an acceptable level of toxicity. It's a minor amount in this particular product. But that assumes that we all live in a vacuum and that we're not exposed to anything else. But in reality, our bodies are becoming these petri dishes, and these chemicals often get stored in our bodies, particularly in fat cells, which makes women much more susceptible to these autoimmune diseases and cancers than men, because we have higher fat ratio in our body. Um, but it becomes this toxic soup of chemicals that bioaccumulates in our bodies until our body has a hard time coping. And what we have seen is the body freaking out on itself because it is overwhelmed with autoimmune diseases and cancers. Um, and there's just been a skyrocketing amount of these. So this whole acceptable level of toxins in each individual product is really a myth because we don't live like that, right? We don't live in these little bubbles where we're only exposed to one thing at a time. In the US, companies do their own research and testing on products and ingredients. And as long as they don't include an outright banned substance, they are allowed to go to market. The FDA doesn't have the inclination nor the ability, they're understaffed to review each and every claim or peer review the science that is submitted to them. And so what ends up happening is things are approved until there is a problem. And it takes a lot of documentation of a problem to recall a product. And who wants to live like that? You're living in like a, I don't know, Mad Max scenario of going down to Target trying to clean your bathtub. So known carcinogens and known endocrine disrupting chemicals are allowed in products. And so this includes items that are banned elsewhere. And what we need to do as consumers is educate ourselves and know where to find the information. You don't have to memorize stuff. You just have to know where to look up the information before you bring stuff home. And one of the strategies that I've seen in the last decade or so is as consumers become more educated about these chemicals that they do not want in their homes, companies change tactics to keep their formulas the same, which are cheap and toxic, and not have to disclose that these chemicals are in their products. You can see, in addition to autoimmune, the neurological diseases graph is just skyrocketed. It's starting in the 50s. Moving towards the last data I had was 2020. It's a lot. It's a lot. So most exposures happen via the lungs or the skin. So you either inhale something or, you get something touching your skin, like spilling or whatever. Skin is not a total barrier the way that they used to think of it. And anything that touches your skin, the vast majority of it goes into your body, either into your skin cells, your fat cells, or directly into the bloodstream. And we'll talk about how that happens based on molecular weight in a second. But my advice to you is if you cannot pronounce it and you do not know what it is, that you should look it up. You're going to get a copy of this presentation. The EWG on this slide is a link. It's going to take you to their consumer databases of ingredients and products. You can do an audit in your home, looking underneath the sink and in the garage and all the places that we store the chemicals that we have, and look them up and see, did it get an A or did it get an F? And why? And what's in that product that is so problematic? So I highly encourage you to do a home audit sometime in the next week or so and just see what should not be in your home. So what you put on your body is as important as what you put in your body. If you have been one of those folks who, is very consciously eating as healthy as possible, you also should pay attention to your body care and your cleaners in your home. Now, uh, this little grid here is sort of a very simplified version of looking at molecular weight. So pretend the tennis racket grid is your skin. Molecular weight determines whether a chemical enters a skin cell, it enters the skin, it goes into the bloodstream. And so a hydrogen atom is the baseline, and that's rated as 1. But anything that is less than 3,000 enters your skin, less than 750 molecular weight enters a skin cell. If it's less than 300, it directly enters the bloodstream. And when I train people about how to use essential oils, this is exactly why topical use of essential oils works, because the molecular weight of essential oils is less than 300. And so when you put it on, you put that carrier oil with the essential oils on your skin, the oil will, absorb into the skin and moisturize, and the essential oils themselves go straight into your bloodstream. And that is actually how they work, right? You want those phytochemicals entering your bloodstream and being taken to where they are needed. Um, so molecular weight is important. It's also how we've developed all of those really great like drug patches that people can wear in the hospital, or nicotine patches. That's the science behind it. So since cleaning products aren't food, they're not regulated by the FDA. The EPA does require a review of the ingredient list. No actual cleaning solution is submitted to the EPA. What the company does is it submits a list of chemicals that are in the product, and as long as none of them are flagged, the product gets passed. Now, here's the thing. In the United States, we consider fragrance or perfume to be proprietary. And so companies do not have to disclose what chemicals are in their fragrance. They just have to list fragrance on the label. And one of the tricks that has been happening is things that aren't there for smell, but are there for other reasons, get put under fragrance so that they don't have to disclose that they're in there. And as people have become aware of parabens being a problem in their deodorant, for example, those formulas don't change. They just get moved into fragrance so that they're not disclosed on the label. It's very expensive for a company to reformulate a whole product, much more expensive than it is to change the label. So we see that less and less. But yeah, that is what is happening. And so I never buy any product that lists fragrance or perfume on it as an ingredient, because you just don't know what it is. And they don't have to tell you. Yeah. So I've said a lot of scary things, and I don't want to scare you. What I do want to do is empower you to realize that while we cannot control what is out there in the world and what companies are doing to the environment outside, we can control what we bring into our homes and what we put in and on our bodies. And that reduces your toxic load significantly. Indoor air quality in US homes is dirtier than outdoor air. And that is because of the cleaners that we use, the chemicals that are used in home furnishings and in building. And I will talk about that as well. But we can control what comes into our home. So let's concentrate on that. Do you have water filtration, right? You can filter out quite a lot with water filtration. And I know that it can be really expensive, or you can go less expensive. The one that I ended up doing before I moved to the country and had my well water tested was I used what's called a Berkey filter. And I don't get paid by them. I don't, but I did all of the research to figure out what gets filtered out, right? And I used their double filter method. One was for, particulate matter and bioorganisms, and then one was for heavy metals and, pollution. And it is very clean water. And it's like a big gravity fed thing. And you like put the filters inside and you just pour water in the top and it filters through, and there's a spigot at the bottom. That's the one that I use. And it just was kept on the counter. Air filtration is also super important. Think about scheduling, in your planners when you're going to change your air filters, but also adding a level of protection of air filter, freestanding in addition to your HVAC. Um, we live in a time with multiple major illnesses raging anyway, so why not purify your air? And then think about the toxic chemicals that you may be bringing into your home. So that today we're talking about house cleaners, but also new furniture, new appliances. Um, One of the most common forever chemicals is like a non-stick coating or a stain master. So new carpet, new upholstery, new curtains, often they're stain treated. Opt for no stain treatment, right? Like I know that if you buy a recliner that you custom order from like Lazy Boy, for example, you can ask them not to treat your furniture because that stuff is a carcinogen. It's an endocrine disruptor. It off gases for many weeks in the environment that it's in before it becomes neutral. Same with mattresses, same with carpet. And honestly, carpet is not that great, especially for people with respiratory issues. If you are about to change your flooring, consider getting laminate or hardwood flooring and putting down throw rugs. You can clean them a lot better. They aren't often treated with that stain master. It's so much easier to find throw rugs that are not treated than it is to find wall-to-wall carpet that isn't treated. Appliances often have nonstick coating, ovens, waffle irons, rice cookers. Often they'll have a nonstick coating, and so will cookware. And that stuff is not good for you. Not only is it bad for you if you ingest any, like some tiny molecules get scraped off of the coating and into your food, but also when it gets too hot, it off gases. I am thankful that I love birds and I have birds in my house because one of the things that they drill into you when you first get birds is you have to get rid of all your nonstick because it can instantly kill them. It doesn't instantly kill us, it just gives us cancer. And then we, have slow motion illness. But for birds, because they inhale twice for every exhale and it goes through their entire body, they inhale into their respiratory system, they inhale again, and that breath goes into their skeletons because they have air sacs attached to their skeleton, and then they exhale. So airborne toxins, they're much more susceptible to them. And that's why they took canaries into coal mines, right? Was there toxic gas that was about to kill everybody? Oh, is the canary dead? Let's run, you know? So all of those appliances that have nonstick coating, all of those pans and cookie sheets and all of that, get rid of them, honestly. I know it's expensive, but as you need to replace one, get one that is healthier. I use stainless steel, I use cast iron, I use tempered glass like Pyrex as my cookware. And I have a cast iron waffle iron. You can get them at Layman's. That's in Ohio. It's like a Amish goods store, homesteading store, Layman's. Um, but also your personal care, right? I do a session on body care and how to, either do your own or look for clean brands. Pesticides, herbicides, insecticides, all of these things that are often stored in the garage or the shed, these are toxic and there's no getting rid of them, honestly. They pollute the air, they pollute the soil, they pollute the water, and they don't go away. So there are alternatives to using those things that I highly recommend. And then plastics, and this is huge, right? So we all know now that microplastics are everywhere in the environment, and maybe some of you know that microplastics are present in most of our bodies. It's making us sick. There's too much plastic in our world, and the more you can avoid, especially single-use plastics, the better. Buy products that are not packaged in plastic. When you go to the produce section, bring your own little produce bag, buy it in bulk, don't get the pre-bagged stuff. Or go to the farmer's market and get it directly from your farmer. Um, you know, Buy a glass spray bottle and just reuse it, over and over and over again, rather than buying single use spray bottles in plastic over and over. What we are doing is we're contributing to not economic, catastrophic illness in the world, and pollution, which causes illness, if you weren't aware. So avoiding plastics as much as possible and really thinking about that, Googling zero waste solution for, and then whatever it is you're trying to replace. Those little scrubby sponges that you use to wash your dishes, most of those are made out of plastic. There are ones that are not. So thinking about simple swaps as you go doesn't have to be overwhelming. You don't have to do it all at once, but swapping out what you can and doing some research on the stuff that is in your home. Yeah, so starting with the garage and outdoors. Often, you go into the garage and you're like, wow, there's like latex paint from 3 years ago. There's this Roundup. There's, motor oil. There's all these things, right? Excuse me. Um, and all of those things are supposed to be disposed of in a, at a hazardous waste facility. They're not supposed to be put in the trash because when you put hazardous chemicals in the trash, it goes into a landfill or it goes into an incinerator and it ends up in our groundwater and in our air. So you need to dispose of things at a toxic waste facility. And then the most important thing after you dispose of what you need to get rid of properly is to just not buy that kind of product again and find a suitable replacement. Alternatives to having chemicals in your garden: let weeds grow, or as you pick them out, feed them to your chickens if you have chickens, or compost them. Diatomaceous earth or cal lime will help deter insects from eating your food, and it's fine for your plants. Companion and interplanting strategies, learning how to pair plants next to each other to repel the pests that you're trying to repel, or buying ladybugs or praying mantises to release in your garden. I know I always loved it when I would go to the Clintonville Farmers Market. There was always somebody there selling little pods of baby praying mantises, and you could leave it out in your garden and they'd all hatch, and then you'd have all these insectivores in your garden. Same with ladybugs. Buying a bag of ladybugs is fun, and releasing them. You can also buy electrical zappers, right? That doesn't cause any pollution to be released into your soil or your water. And of course, livestock. If you're fortunate enough to have backyard chickens or ducks, they can get rid of a lot of pests for you. They love them. Guinea hens too, although your neighbors may complain if you've got close neighbors by, because guinea hens are so loud, but they eat their weight in ticks. They are fantastic tick eaters. So look up a product again and its ingredients before you bring it home. And all of us have smartphones these days, so it's really easy to get on that EWG website and do a comparison and look for. They will show you what gets an A, so that you can purchase that one rather than purchasing one that gets an F. Or you can learn to make your own. I'm going to talk about that in a minute too. So let's talk about classes of ingredients that you should avoid. Antibacterials. We use antibacterial ingredients far too often, and we have caused antibiotic resistance in different kinds of bacteria. You walk into a hospital and there is MRSA there. There just is, and they haven't been able to get rid of it. I have a diabetic friend who got MRSA in their body from being in the hospital. Ever since then, they have to battle MRSA back and forth. Like they treat one infection and then it comes back. It's very resistant to treatment. Avoid anything with antibacterial plastic, antibacterial ingredients like triclosan. It's unnecessary, first of all, because lots of things kill bacteria, including just plain old soap. You do not need the extra boost, and again, it's causing problems. Anything that is labeled as a corrosive or a caustic. And when you look at cleaning products, like let's say you're looking at a can of oven cleaner, right? It is required that certain ingredients be labeled according to different warnings. So anything labeled corrosive or caustic, just avoid, because it causes chemical burns, not just on your skin, but if you've got an aerosolized oven cleaner, you are going to inhale that. You are damaging your lungs. So keep them away. Oh, drain cleaners are another one, right? There are alternatives to using Drano and things like that that I can get into. But you just don't want to bring them into your home. They pollute and they're bad for you and they could harm you. So avoid these products at home and obviously keep them out of the reach of children if you have children in your home or visiting your home. Essential oils. Now, you may think that this is contraindicated by an herbalist, but I will tell you, most people do not use essential oils properly. They overuse them. They think, oh, it's a natural product and therefore it can't hurt me. But that is absolutely untrue. Arsenic is a natural occurring ingredient in lots of things, but it can definitely hurt you if you use it wrong or you ingest too much. So, essential oils absolutely can only be used either through inhalation or topical use. Any other way, like ingesting them, is not correct. And the percentages that you use when you're using them are so small, it is so easy to overdose. Honestly, if you're making your own cleaners, I highly recommend just avoiding essential oils altogether. You do not need them. And a lot of them will, market themselves as, oh, lemon, it's antibacterial. That is true. Yes, that is absolutely true. But so is soap. So is gentle baby Castile soap. So I do not recommend people just willy-nilly playing around with essential oils because they are chemicals. They're phytochemicals, but they are still chemicals. Fragrance or perfume. Again, this is not regulated. It is not disclosed. It is not required to be disclosed. So I just avoid anything that says that, whether it's a body care item or a house cleaning item. Nope, not worth it. Anything that's labeled irritant causes temporary inflammation. It can cause chemical burns as well. And there's a range, and it can also cause neurological problems. So why bring something into your home that's an irritant, right? Why have to pussyfoot around a cleaner when there are perfectly good cleaners that aren't irritants? And optical brighteners. Now, these are used in laundry usually. Um, they are they are carcinogens. A lot of laundry stuff is like all that extra fragrance that you add, the little sprinkly perfume stuff, dryer sheets, and fragrance inside laundry detergent. Those are the big three. Like I would just avoid those like the plague. Get free and clear detergent or use just regular soap. Do not use dryer sheets. I use wool balls in my dryer and it keeps away the static cling. And I don't have to use chemicals. And then that scent stuff, I don't know about you all, but I am really sensitive at this point. Now that I've eliminated all this stuff, if I smell synthetic fragrance, it immediately shifts in my head and I get a horrible headache that doesn't go away right away. And that is my body telling me, get away from that stuff. It is nasty, like it's harming you. Listen to your body. And then surfactants. Surfactants are things that are often in soaps, shampoos, dish soap. And what they do is they're supposed to lift oils out of things. But a lot of them are really toxic and harsh. And they actually kill aquatic life. So let's say you're using a surfactant in your shampoo, you rinse it down the drain, and it goes on to kill all the fish downstream. This happens on the regular. Again, there's a lot of surfactants that are in cleaning or in body care that just don't have a lot of regulation around them. So again, there are healthy cleaning guides on the EWG site, and I linked that to you on the previous slide. So home construction and furnishing. I did mention this, and I talked about Stain Guard in particular, or whatever they call it, like Stain Master. That stuff is nasty, but you really need to look out for home construction as well. So there's furnishings, there's appliances. If you're remodeling, talk to your contractors about what they're using. Insulation, decking, paint, um, trim. Find out what it's made of and what it's treated with before you say yes. That is in your control. You can decide what materials are being used to remodel or build a home. So definitely take the lead and be proactive about that. So it's a lot of information, I know, and I don't want to overwhelm or make anyone afraid, but I want to leave with this idea that you are in control of what you bring into your house. Be someone who is conservative. Use the precautionary principle when you're approaching issues of potential harm, right? So think, if I do not know about this product, I'm going to be conservative and just pass it by. You know, Having full knowledge and disclosure about something that you are purchasing and then bringing into your home is is recommended, right? Just be conservative. If there isn't extensive scientific knowledge about an ingredient yet, don't assume it's safe, because that is the FDA and the EPA approach, right? They're saying, "Oh, well, we don't know enough, so go ahead." Like that's just a recipe for disease. So we can take the opposite approach in our own homes. So caution, pausing, reviewing, researching. And I know it seems like a lot when you just want to go to the corner store and grab a surface cleaner and clean your countertop, but there are alternatives to doing that are actually less expensive, healthier, and a lot more empowering, I think, because you are in complete control. So we're going to talk about making your own now. The four ingredients up at the top: apple cider vinegar infused with thyme, which I will teach you how to do, white distilled vinegar, baking soda, and liquid Castile soap. Dr. Bronner's baby formula in particular has no essential oils or fragrance in it. That is the best. Those four things in your home can clean everything. You don't need anything else. You don't need fancy cleaners that are expensive. Like, if you think about how much you pay per ounce for the single use bottles of anything, you're paying way more than you would for those items. You can get a gallon of white distilled vinegar at Aldi for a couple bucks. Same with apple cider vinegar. Thyme, you could grow it yourself. Baking soda is really cheap. And the most expensive thing here is Dr. Bronner's liquid soap. And honestly, it's not that expensive. I think 32 ounces is $16, something like that. And that'll last you a long time, because every time I use Dr. Bronner's, I dilute it in half. It's liquidier, but it's just as effective. Like, it's a concentrate. So to infuse a vinegar with thyme is the easiest thing you've ever heard. So fresh thyme or dried thyme doesn't matter. I grow it, so I just shove fresh thyme in the bottle. So I have let's say you have the gallon container of apple cider vinegar. You're literally going to shove thyme in there, either pour dried thyme or shove the sprigs of it in there, until about a fifth of the bottom is covered. Ooh, that was weird looking. Anyway, so about a fifth of the bottom is plant matter, and you just let it steep. You let it steep for about a month. So you're always going to have some on hand, because you're going to have some steeping while you're using the active stuff. I will tell you, in lab studies, thyme kills more pathogens than bleach. It kills viruses, it kills bacteria. This is the ultimate surface cleaner for your kitchen, for your bathroom, and it is 100% natural. It will not hurt you, and it's actually good for you. If you get some on your skin or you accidentally ingest some, it's not going to hurt you at all. Tastes like salad dressing without the oil. So apple cider vinegar infused with thyme is what I use to clean surfaces, particularly surfaces that maybe have had food sitting on them and I'm worried about bacteria buildup. And doorknobs, if you're worried about viral load, clean your doorknobs with apple cider vinegar infused with thyme. White distilled vinegar is a really great, cheap solution for like glass cleaner, windows and things like that, or refrigerator doors, or anything that you don't want streaks on. White distilled vinegar, because the apple cider vinegar, because it's cloudy with the mother, you want the distilled stuff, so it's going to leave a nice clear finish. You can also use it instead of so there's a product that you put in your dishwasher that is the soap, but then there's also like a little rinse that you could put in there that's supposed to remove any hard water stains, things like that. Just use white distilled vinegar instead. You don't need to use that chemical to get your glasses, if you have hard water, clean. Baking soda is not only its pH is very alkaline, which automatically kills bacteria on surfaces, but it's also a really great abrasive. So if you need like to clean your bathtub, like often people will use those shaker cleaners that are abrasive so that they can clean off the soap scum, just use baking soda. It not only is cleaner from an actual standpoint and abrasive, but it's not going to harm any water or soil when it rinses down the drain. And then liquid Castile soap. You can use it to wash your dishes. You can use it to wash your laundry. And, you know, if you prefer, if you've got one of those high capacity washers, you need to use a liquid anyway. Again, you dilute it in half. So I usually buy Dr. Bronner's by the gallon. And then I have a smaller bottle that I refill. I fill half of it up and then I put the other half water to dilute it properly. And then I can use that. Um, and I also use apple cider vinegar infused with thyme in any laundry that is really gross and like kitchen rags or so here's something that maybe you didn't know about me. So we are trying to go zero waste in our home. So we use bidets, and then we have what's called common cloth instead of toilet paper. And basically, all you're doing is drying yourself off because the bidet cleans you after you go to the bathroom. And then the cloth is just wiping you dry, so you're not drip drying. I do all my family cloth with soap and apple cider vinegar infused with thyme. You know, and it's its own load of laundry. So I use it for all of those purposes. Those four ingredients will go a long way to taking it easy on your pocketbook, taking it easy on your immune system and your endocrine system, and also empowering you to make decisions that are healthy for you and your family. Now, here is a list of brands if you don't want to do the DIY route. These are ones that I can actually say I have investigated, I have used in the past, um, and are clean. So Azure Standard is only available through azurestandard.com. You can either get it shipped to you or you can join a drop. It's an old-fashioned business model. You can order all kinds of clean things from them, but you can also order bulk food. I get dried beans and nuts and, you know, things like that from them. Columbus, Ohio does have an Azure drop. I believe the woman who owns City Folks Farm Shop still is the drop coordinator. You could talk to her about that. But basically, you order online, it gets taken out of your card when they pack the truck, and then the truck comes from Azure Standard to each drop, and you're there to pick up your stuff. It sounds like a lot, but you get used to it. I do all of my bulk shopping that way. Um, but Azure Standard has amazing cleaners. I buy a big 5 gallon bucket full of laundry detergent from them, and it lasts me over a year because it's concentrated, because it's clean, it's not full of fillers. Yeah, it's good stuff. Berkeley Green is another cleaning formula, but they do have the single-use plastic bottles that I'm not a huge fan of, but their formulas themselves, no toxins. Blue Land, you order online. They have laundry detergent, they have dishwasher tabs, And the one thing I will say about dishwasher tabs is most of them contain microplastics. If they're like that weird squishy outside with powder on the inside, that's plastic. You don't want that in the environment. So Blue Land tablets are actually compressed powder tablets. They're like little ovals, and you just stick that in your dishwasher, and there's no microplastics, and they are clean. Charlie's soap. I use their stain remover spray. Like if you get something on your clothes and you want to pre-treat before you wash, I do use their stain remover spray. I like it. Drainbow. So let's talk about plumbing, because a lot of people, they get a clog and then they're like, well, I have to buy this yucky toxic stuff, but I don't have any choice. Um, the choice is twofold. So to treat a problem, use mechanical solutions rather than chemical. So buy a snake, right? You can get one at Lowe's and use a snake. But then the preventative, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Is that the right? Yeah, I think that's right. So preventing clogs is the way to go. So definitely get something that traps hair and other things from going down the drain, but also every other month, pour enzymes down your drain. Now, Drainbow are those enzymes. That's just one brand. There's other brands. And again, the folks at City Folks Farm Shop may have a bunch of drain enzymes for you. Um, Basically, you just treat that, and you do it when you're not going to use that particular sink for 8 hours, like before bed or something. You let those enzymes just eat away at all the stuff that's lining your pipes, and it's a preventative, right? So it's a non-toxic preventative. Those enzymes occur in nature. They do not poison anything. It's a really great way to go. Dr. Bronner's, I'm a big fan of Dr. Bronner's. They have good soap and have since the hippie days. They're great. And then Planet. Planet is a brand that has not yet been scooped up by Unilever or Procter and Gamble or any of the big uh, chemical companies, and their formulas are natural. Now, things that used to be natural and independent are no longer natural and independent. So if you look at EcoVare, seventh generation, or BioClean, they all have been bought by big chemical companies like Unilever, and their formulas have changed. They are no longer clean. It's greenwashing, is what they call it in the marketing world. It is not clean anymore, so you should avoid those brands. All right. So I am sure I must have inspired some questions in folks. I know that we are, what time are we at? Actually, let me look. We have 15 minutes for Q&A, and I am happy to answer any and all questions. You're going to get a copy of this slideshow, so you will have the links in it. I'll make sure that Darlene gets that and she mails it out to you. But I am here. I am here for the questions.
You are welcome to unmute or use the chat.
Oh, good morning. What about burning essential oils?
So, number one, you shouldn't burn them, because that chemically alters, heat definitely chemically alters the phytochemicals. So when you diffuse, I think you mean like diffusing them into the air.
Yeah, that was the term. I apologize. I'm a
No, no, no,
little
no, it's fine.
tongue-tied.
And there are
I'm using a diffuser with distilled water.
Okay. So there are diffusers that use heat, and they aren't recommended, mainly because they do chemically alter the essential oils. With water, that means that they are diffusing them into the air with vapor. You can definitely use them, but there are some precautions that most people aren't aware of. Number one, they are chemicals, so they are increasing your chemical exposure regardless of where they're sourced from. Number two, houses with cats or birds should not diffuse essential oils. With dogs, it's okay. Number three, you should not do it continuously. You should only do it as a treatment and not a wellness idea. They're not a wellness product. They are highly concentrated, corrosive and potent. So really, you only do them for short bursts and you only do them situationally, if that makes sense.
Well, okay, so I took one of your workshops, and anyway, you said not to use them regularly, so I stopped. So
Mhm.
now I'm doing it like once a week or something like that.
Sure. And it depends on what you're diffusing, right? So for cleaning, there are antimicrobial things that you could diffuse, especially if you feel like, illness has been in your house or you've been exposed to something. There are antimicrobial essential oils that you could definitely diffuse into the air. Just remember that when you diffuse, you're basically getting respiratory droplets, which are bigger globules than aerosolized like viruses. Like COVID is an aerosolized virus and it stays hanging in the air a lot longer than the droplets do. The droplets are heavy enough that they eventually just sort of fall to the floor. Aerosolized things stay in the air a lot longer. So a diffuser is creating those heavier droplets, but enough gets into the air that you smell it and that have an impact on you. Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, we have a question in the chat. And Christy asks, is it okay to use apple cider vinegar infused with thyme on granite surfaces?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's a very safe product. And most of the apple cider vinegar that you're getting at the store is already a low enough concentration that the acid in it isn't going to do any harm to surfaces. I would recommend that you get the kind of apple cider vinegar that says raw and unfiltered or with the mother, which means that it contains beneficial bacteria and yeast that are friendly to our bodies. And so they're going to help with a boost for that. So there is a way to reach out to me or to the company that helps me do these every month. It's on the end of the slideshow. I teach classes like this, but I also teach classes to teach the next generation of herbalists. I do clinical consultations for people that are looking for assistance in getting well, staying well, and case management. And then, wait, no, that way. The reverse always gets me in Zoom. Haven Herbs is my little herbal apothecary, and we have ready-made things. And coming up, I mean, it's going to be summertime, right? We're all going to want to be outside. We're all going to want to be having fun in the sun. I make sunscreen, I make bug spray, in addition to remedies and body care. And everything we do is packaged not in plastic. No plastic. No plastic. So
We have another question. What is a good overall bathroom cleaner?
So I would use the surface cleaner of the apple cider vinegar with thyme on all of your surfaces, right? So cleaning the outside of the toilet behind where, where the tank meets the seat and underneath and all of that, and also your countertops. I would use baking soda to scrub sink and tub so that you have some abrasive to get off soap scum and things like that. I would use vinegar to clean your mirror. Again, the white vinegar, not the apple cider vinegar. And that should be enough, actually. I always save old toothbrushes so I can get into little cracks of things, like where the faucet meets the sink, because that can get kind of gross. Things like that. So, having the right tool is just as important as having the right chemical. Did I just stun you all into silence?
Um,
Oh,
It looked
you
like
want
we
me
had
to
another question. Oh, okay. It wasn't a question in the chat. It was a thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. I hope I didn't scare you too much. I definitely want to empower people to look it up. And the thing that I would encourage at this point is doing an audit, right? Starting small, like saying, okay, I'm going to tackle underneath the kitchen sink today. I'm going to pull everything out. I'm going to look at it. I'm going to look it up. And I'm going to have a pile of things that I'm getting rid of and a pile that are safe for me to put back under the sink, and start that way and just move from place to place until you've done it all. You don't have to do it all in one day. Um, and as you run out of something, think about what you want to replace it with, right? And do a little bit of research before you go out and buy the same old thing. Because that same old thing, even though it's probably convenient and an ingrained sort of pattern, might not be benefiting you.
We have couple more questions in the chat. We did have a couple of people who, unfortunately, due to technical issues, joined us late. So you did mention that when you get new furniture, mattress and everything, that they do off-gassing. So the question is what to do if getting new furniture, mattresses, etc.
So do the research before you buy. There are organic mattress companies. You can also go the futon route, which is often just layers of cotton. But yeah, there are companies that they make products that are deliberately non-toxic. There are plenty of people out in the world that have environmental illness. There are products now specifically made for folks like that, or people like us who don't want to get to that point, right? Um, so I mentioned like when I was looking to buy a recliner, I saved up because I decided I was going to buy a new recliner from a company where I could choose everything. I choose the upholstery, I choose the design, I choose what features I wanted, and I could choose whether or not I put stain guard on it. And I chose not to. And that company was Lazy Boy, but I know that there are other companies like that too. Yeah.
Um, the next question, I have an acrylic tub and marble shower, was told not to use vinegar. What can I clean with that won't etch surfaces?
Sure. So you can use a paste that you make of baking soda and soap. So that Castile soap and that baking soda that I mentioned, make a paste that is somewhat liquidy. Um, you know, the product that comes in the squeezy bottle that is the abrasive for cleaning your tub, like they recommended it, like, oh, you don't have to use the powder anymore, that scratches, you can use this. It's the same consistency, it's soap and baking soda. You just would make it in advance and use that to clean your surfaces and it will be fine.
A question of what EWG stands for, but I already put that in the chat.
Yeah, Environmental Working Group, and they are a nonprofit organization whose mission it is to disclose environmental threats and lobby for better protections. They publish the Dirty Dozen, the 12 most pesticide-laden produce items every year. They do testing. They also publish the Clean 15, so 15 items that you can get at the grocery store and you don't have to buy organic because the residue is so low as to be undetectable. They also do a clean water guide, a sunscreen guide, so many, right? They have the database for cosmetics and beauty care, as well as for cleaners. They've done a lot of work for us, right? They are an amazing resource that I highly recommend.
I did look them up and I got on their newsletter list. And so now they send me regular emails with updates and
Yeah.
they're a pretty fascinating group.
Yeah, and you can download little guides that you can print out and take with you to the store. That's super helpful. Um, and as a completely unrelated side note, there is also a downloadable guide that you can print out and take to the store for seafood, put out by the Monterey Bay Aquarium, that I highly recommend if you are interested in ocean health. Yeah, they do that too.
Well, lots of thank yous in the chat, Lily. We always greatly appreciate your time and your expertise, but lots of people saying thank you.
You're very welcome. I look forward to seeing you again next month. Next month is May. Trying to think what it is.
Yeah,
Is
I
it
don't have
done?
the magazine has been delayed in printing, so I don't have that right in front of me either.
I think it might be Fun in the Sun. So solutions, non-toxic and safe solutions for being outside for extended periods. So yeah, I think that's what it is, maybe. Um,
We'll be sending information out about that. As well as Lily said, she'll send me her presentation and I'll be forwarding that. I have recorded today's session and that will be uploaded to our website and our YouTube channel of Cancer Support Community Central Ohio. If you have to put the whole name in. If you do Cancer Support Community, you get wonderful videos from our headquarters, just not ours. So if you go to YouTube, just search out the whole title and you'll find Lily today after I upload it and previous natural living workshop topics. So we just have about 2 minutes left. Does anybody have any last minute questions while we have Lily?
it doesn't have to be about cleaning stuff. It could be about it.
And Lily will have her email in that presentation, and I know she's always wonderful about saying just email her with any questions.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. If you think of something later, just shoot me an email.
Well, thank you,
Great to-
everybody, for joining us today. Lily, as always, thank you so very much. And I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of this beautifully sunshiny day.
Yeah. Bye, everybody.